A statement just moments ago, former Vice President Joe Biden said, if these reports are true, then there's truly no bottom to President Trump's willingness to abuse his power and abase our country. This behavior is particularly abhorrent because it exploits the foreign policy of our government and undermines our national security for partisan purposes. He also said, at a minimum, the president should release a transcript of the call in order that the whistleblower's complaint be released to Congress. Congressman Quigley, thank you for coming on this Friday night. But my God, this is a big one. The president of the United States, put in perspective, out there trolling for dirt on a political opponent, using his presidential power, his office, our foreign policy, our foreign aid, military aid, to go to a foreign government to get oppo on somebody he thinks he might have to run against. Your thoughts?
You know, as tough as this is to say, I guess I'm not surprised. I've watched and investigated this White House for over 3 years now, and absolutely nothing surprises me. I guess if I've learned anything is there's never any coincidences with this White House and their operations, and everything's tied together. I mean, this began a long time ago with Manafort and the profiteers and conmen that worked in the White House. This is just an extension of those actions.
You're not supposed to take aid from a foreign power, a foreign government, in a political campaign. Is this that? Is this going over there for something of value, in-kind dirt, which is something you usually pay for from an oppo operation? Is this a crime?
Look, even if you don't conflate these two issues, the assault on congressional oversight and the whistleblower operation and what we're learning about Ukraine, these are two body blows to the country that we live in. It is extraordinary. It is a danger not only to our country and what we represent. Let's understand exactly where Ukraine is right now. Crimea is occupied. There is fighting in the east. This is a country just hanging on against Russian oppression. So these are our allies, what they must think of us now.
Well, I disagree with you, Congressman, because I'm shocked by this thing. I don't care what Trump's done before. This is blatant. He's been investigated for 3 years for this very act. He now does it in broad daylight. We caught him. You know what? A whistleblower caught him doing this. We didn't catch him.
Yeah, so I think there's 3 issues here, and they're all really big deals. So the first is shaking down a foreign leader for his own personal political gain. It's not for some U.S. policy objective, right? But it's holding up congressionally appropriated money while you're making demands for your personal benefit, personal political benefit from a foreign country. The second issue is inviting, as you just pointed out, inviting or asking or demanding that foreign country to improperly engage in the U.S. political process, right? This is collusion, right? And the third, which is from my point of view by far the worst, is demanding a foreign leader to investigate your political opponents. And Trump has been pretty open about demanding that his law enforcement apparatus investigate his political opponents, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Obama, right? He's easy about that. But now we see he's leaning on foreign officials to do it as well. And by the way, he's not saying to the Ukrainians, cooperate with our law enforcement officials. He's saying to the Ukrainians, cooperate with my personal lawyer in digging up dirt and spying on and investigating my political opponents and their children.
Well, in addition to all the abuse of power, extortion, he's taking a country which is vulnerable to being brought down by Russia and Putin and saying, I know you're in trouble. You want to be saved? Give me my dirt. In June, the president openly admitted that he would accept dirt on a political opponent from a foreign government and said that he would not inform the FBI if he was contacted by a foreign government with information. Let's watch.
This is somebody that said, we have information on your opponent. Oh, let me call the FBI. Give me a break. Life doesn't work that way. If somebody called from a country, Norway, we have information on your opponent. Oh, I think I'd want to hear it.
You want that kind of interference in our elections?
It's not an interference. They have information. I think I'd take it.
Yeah, Amish, in this case, he didn't have something come over the transom. He went over the transom. He went to another government and said, you want that $250 million? You need to protect yourself? You'll get it if you give me the dirt on Biden.
If you pull this back, the big question is President Trump open to a foreign government meddling in our elections in 2020? It seems as though from the reporting that we've seen from the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, it's that, yes, the president is open to that. And it fits a pattern. When he was a candidate in 2016, he said Russia hacked Hillary Clinton's emails. Then he's telling George Stephanopoulos, hey, if you have information, foreign governments, give them to me. What this tells us in the future is that if you're a foreign government and you want to sway this president, can you give him information that you come across about any political opponent and say, here, Mr. President, give me this because I want to be interested in you and I want you to work in my favor. So I think this is going to be a big issue going forward. There's been a big question about whether or not foreign governments are going to meddle in 2020. Now the question is President Trump going to help them do that?
Of course he is. The Congress can't stop it. Let me ask to Carol. In the last several days, this story has blossomed to the point where we now are putting it all together. The whistleblowers complaint through the DNI, the National Director of National Intelligence, all this information about the president doing something that was so upsetting to that person in national security that they said this was urgent. We had to know about it. They're withholding that information from us under the advice of the William Barr, the president's toady at AG. And now we're finding out that it was, in fact, perhaps a quid pro quo. What happened in the last couple of days? How did this story break out? There's a lot of theories about where your sources are. You obviously can't give them away. One source is they think that Trump himself is putting it out in a sort of okay, I like your face. You just did that yourself. I wish the camera catches you. Thank you, Carol. You're
Donald
saying
Trump
that's
did
not
let us know about this. In fact, actually, what I would say, Chris, is one of the stunning things that tells me this is a big deal, beyond the fact that it is encouraging a foreign power to get involved for his personal benefit, as Ben put so well. What tells me this is a big deal is how silent the White House is. I mean, usually you get some engagement. You get somebody there to say, look, here's our argument. I want to push back on this. There is an absolute death knell over there. And I have to believe that they're scratching their heads trying to figure out what are they going to say. The president, for his part today, said, you know, my lawyers are looking at it and they're laughing at that complaint. I'm not so convinced they're laughing at that complaint. Our reporting today is that the White House counsel and Bill Barr, both, if not personally, their offices, was consulting with the Director of National Intelligence, giving their legal arguments about why this should not go to Congress. And the DNI...
the complaint,
yes,
the content of it.
Why this whistleblower's information shouldn't go to Congress, and that this has created great consternation and tension between the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and the White House.
Let's go back to this course for both your piece today and the Wall Street Journal piece that came out late today say pressured, that the President of the United States pressured the Ukrainian President Zelensky to give us that dirt, or else. What's the or else?
You know, as we've all been discussing, it's $250 million in military aid that Congress approved, that the president was holding back on and blocking, which is pretty unusual. And then the other was a meeting with the president. Aides had been trying to arrange for Trump to meet with Zelensky, something Zelensky really wanted. It's a signal to the world. I've got the U.S. behind my back, that ally that's feeling so unprotected. And Trump was withholding that, too.
Is that the promise we keep reading in this paper, that he will meet with them?
I can't tell you exactly.
I think
Mish,
one of the...
But there was a quid pro quo aspect to this.
There is an alleged promise, according to the complainant, which I could talk about a little bit more, but let me...
Well, I'll just say this in terms of the president has always, and people in my reporting have always talked about the fact that the thing that blocks the president has been the courts. Now what we're seeing with this whistleblower is that there are people within his own government that are willing to say, you know what, you've gone too far. Here it is. We've been waiting for Republicans in Congress at times for people to say, oh, they've gone too far. The president can't do this. But now what we see is that he is probably not pushing back as much. I've been calling and asking the White House about this. They're not pushing back because if they do, they obviously have people inside that can push back on that, who have evidence of this call. Is there a recording of the call? Who knows? But the question is that they can't push back too hard because the person who is whistleblowing is inside this administration.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.